You know, we often hear about how Germany is the economy which is the backbone of the European economies, with industry chugging out cars and machine tools and the like. But we went up to Germany's newest and deepest port, and what we found in the north of Germany on the coast there is an industry in crisis.
Yard Weserport, Germany's newest. But something's missing. The ships. The country's only deep-water dock was completed last year on the North Sea coast. As world trade stalled, it's now a symbol of the worst shipping crisis in decades.
We still are handling the same volume as we did 5 years ago, so it makes the cookie, let's say, for all of us a little bit smaller.
It's about overcapacity, and not just for ports. Capacity of the global fleet has risen steadily as new superships were ordered, but since 2010, trade dropped off.
There's been a huge misjudgment of the market. They thought that in 2010 the economy would pick up again, which was obviously not the case. We call this a pork cycle. You place an order, then you wait, but when the product is delivered, your situation has completely changed.
At Yard Weserport, most workers are on shorter hours. It'll stay like that unless traffic picks up. Until then, almost all that moves here are the seagulls.
Now, when Bloomberg visited that port, it's true there were absolutely no ships there. It's not to say there aren't any ships going in there at all. There are these new huge container ships that go in there twice a week, and they're from Maersk, which is the biggest shareholder in the port's operator. But that's nothing like what they were expecting when these ports and these big containers were actually ordered. Now, the European head of operations for Maersk Line was speaking in Hamburg just yesterday, and his forecast for the global container market was it would only grow at the same pace as global economic growth, or maybe 1.5 times as fast, which is nothing compared with the 3 times as fast as it was growing back before the financial crisis. Now, this is because we're seeing a slowdown in global trade. We're seeing huge ships that were ordered before the crisis now coming on stream, so it's an enormous story about overcapacity, and it doesn't look as if it's going to rectify itself in the near future.
Really fascinating, those comments coming through from Maersk, David. He was talking about overcapacity, and what's clear also from his comments is that this isn't just something that's cyclical, it's something that's structural as well, because he said that we've been spoilt for decades, haven't we, in terms of a shift into containerization by companies containerizing more, and he thought that that really wasn't going to come back in the future.
It's all part of this huge globalization that the world has seen over the last couple of decades, and the enormous increase in trade. So when these ships were ordered, they expected that exponential increase in trade to continue, and that it would be enough to actually fill these huge container ships that have now been ordered. So you've got these big deep water ports lying virtually like ghost ports in parts of Europe. That said, it is quite interesting, Anna, to see that there are some ports which are doing pretty well at the moment. Some of the ports in Portugal are beginning to rev up and are becoming faster growing ports, but they're much smaller, and they're dealing with growing exports coming from some parts of the European Union. For example, Portugal is trying to ramp up its exports to Latin America. So there is some growth, but still these huge ships that have been ordered are finding themselves, some of them redundant, not enough containers to ship around the world.